past tense. You could keep your 2 cents. I don't wanna be another target on a hit list. All my people running around the city like some misfits. So I'm steady praying for my brothers like a wish list. Can I trust a soul? They gon' turn on you the quickest. Damn, there's so much going on in this world we call our home. They been looting and protesting, trying to get it far home. Ain't nobody got us like we got us. Streets is in a frenzy, you see the riots. Stand up for a cause, or you die for one of yours. Ain't no universal laws, they just wanna sabotage. Rolling with my entourage, and they tell us be safe, but they got our hands behind us while we down up on our face. It don't make no sense, no. It felt like a death, no. How we supposed to raise our sons, how we supposed to get through. Feeling really stressful, years of being dreadful. How could we be careful when we ain't really careful? Therefore, all the youths need a good mentor, yes Lord. All the years this we endure, there's no cure. All the cops screaming 10 for what for? Government always trying to send, so we at war. Yeah, we black, but we really called Moors, born poor. All we care about is Jordan Concords, looting stores. Why you taking things that's not yours? Oh boy, that ain't no way yet on the George Floyd. Stay on point, half America is really unemployed. We annoyed, killing people, it's a state of paranoia. Can't avoid it, all these business burned down and destroyed. No insurance, think my people kinda missing what's important. Yeah, stand up for your rights. Yeah, we putting up a fight. They don't want us out at night, so they gave us curfew. It's like jumping out the plane with no parachute. Don't shoot, hands up, but they still gon' do it. Here we know and probably like, man, what y'all doing? Need to come together, all of us, and start a revolution. Yeah, discover more solutions, overthrow the Constitution, stop the looting, stop the shooting. We've been living in confusion. Things are getting intense, using up my 6 cents. Thought you had us figured, I can't use me at your expense. They be on that pretense, we be on self-defense. Left you in the past tense, you could keep your 2 cents. I don't wanna be another target on a hit list. All my people running around the city like some misfits. So I'm steady praying for my brothers like a wish list. Can I trust a soul? They gon' turn on you the quickest.
Walk slowly and talk slowly. You are.
It's better knowing how to fall than to stumble. Living on the line with the truth all day. I've seen you on the radar so many times. I don't wanna end up hiding. I don't wanna end up fighting. So if you're coming close when I need you the most, slow it down.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Well, we're starting with what happened in Georgia this morning, here in Georgia, and we want to get right into it because of the severity of the situation. Here in Georgia, Robert Aaron Long, 21-year-old son of a Baptist preacher from the Woodstock area, was arrested last night around 9 p.m. after 3 spy shootings in the Atlanta metro area. The first shooting took place around 5 p.m. local time at Young Asians massage parlor in Cherokee County, where 4 people were killed and 1 was injured. 2 of those killed were Asian. The other 2 were a white man and a white woman. Not long after, 2 other spy shootings took place across the street from one another in Atlanta. 3 women were killed at the Gold Spa and a 4th at the Aromatherapy Spa. The Atlanta Police Department believed all 4 were Asian. Police received those calls at 5:47 p.m. and 5:57 p.m. The call came in as robberies, although authorities are still investigating the motive. And so we wanted to start with that story this morning because it is breaking news, and it's another mass shooting tied directly to white supremacy and the anti-Asian hatred that has been spreading across the country, particularly because of it's 100% rooted in the fear mongering that has come from not only Donald Trump, but Fox News, all of them who are labeling the coronavirus as the China flu and all other types of derogatory ways of referring to it. Rebecca, you saw some of this, and James, I saw some of your posts on Instagram. You guys kind of saw some of the commotion with the police officers and different things. What did you guys experience last night?
Well, first of all, hi everybody. Missed you guys, mean it. But that whole story was super scary. Yesterday, I was heading to lunch and I saw so many cops just rushing over into the area. And I was looking like, what's happening right now? And there was so many, they were going towards oncoming traffic, trying to get to this particular space. And I'm like, I saw 1 cop, 2 cops, 3 cops, then 10 coming down the way. And I didn't know what was going on at all. I've been, out of the bubble. So I didn't know what was going on. And I just continued to see cops, just so many. And they were just right in my area. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Yeah. And driving back, it just started to get more crazy. And then when I got back to my home, I could still hear all the sirens for another hour or so. And I just was wondering what was happening until I did see the story, but I didn't see where exactly it was coming from. So then when one of our producers and you were talking about it yesterday, and the person was still on the run. Yeah, that's what really, really scared me, because I live in a predominantly white area, and people around here live it's just free, ain't nothing. Yeah. There's no real crime here or anything. So I was a bit scared. I can honestly tell you that. And just to hear that it could potentially have been a hate crime, because I don't know what the motive, mental health or whatever, what that motive was. That it was just sick to know that people went to work one day and died. Yeah. And, James, the number one thing that, it's always in these moments that I'm like, everyone's holding their breath, wondering who did it. And in this case, this guy didn't care to hide his face. He didn't care. He took his car. You could see the surveillance images. He pulled up in his car. He jumped out and committed this mass murder. His face all on the camera. He didn't care. And he was, proud of what he did. And it is there he is on the screen now. It's so much hatred. You know what I mean? And these sisters who were these are, generally speaking, they're working people. They're working class people just trying to survive. And this white supremacist scumbag went in there, and of course they apprehended him alive and well, even though he had a little they chased him. They found him 100 miles south of Atlanta, so he was on a race trying to get away from the city.
But here we are again with more hate leading to more murders and more crime, man. What did you know, I saw you were following it too last night.
Yeah, I saw a few things. I saw when the first one occurred, but it wasn't until after 8 when I got the alert. 8 people, you know, I heard about the first two, then it just went up. And then I saw it was 3 different spas. I was like, what the hell is going on? It was a lot last night. It was a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then, of course, to see who it was, it just looked like, okay, I'm not going to say I was surprised, but, you know, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's hard to wrap my mind around 8 people dying, and not to shift it to another story. But there was another story which, you know, is no relation to this one. But just this week alone, we had, yesterday, 8 people lost their life from Atlanta to the metro Atlanta area where Woodstock and all this other stuff. Like, this man literally got into his car, went over to this place, killed somebody. While they were monitoring that, he went and did it across the street. While they were monitoring that, he then came to over here out in this area and did the same thing. So it was crazy. But then there's another story that happened as well and I don't know if you guys covered it. A man for a stimulus check went and murdered the mother of his child's daughter, her other daughter, with someone else, and brother, cousin, and I believe aunt, and it was 4 bodies.
Yeah, I think her mother too.
Yeah, a stimulus check that he wanted half of, and this man, you know, was a lot of crime has been happening, and I think this is like that was a state of like mental issues, and this could have been one as well. I don't know the motives behind this, but it's just I don't, you know, this is pure hatred. Like you're going to guarantee that, you know, the mainstream is going to say it was mental health issues. They always do that, especially then. See, you're going to see the difference. You're going to see the difference because for that white boy, they're going to say mental health issues. For that black man, they're going to pump it up as all of the criminals, things that are wrong in the black community, right? And that's exactly what happened. And the conversation online was, you see what happens in the black community, you see, and I was like, well, you know. There's a lot of crime where they think that it's just in black communities, but where people lack, there's a lot of those types of things that happen in white communities and whatever communities, but where the people lack, and that does not take away that the system is still messed up for black people. And I had to tell somebody that yesterday. It does not take away from that fact. And what they did do, because now I know from just reading little clips of the guy that murdered the family over the check, is say that he was already in jail, he's already a criminal, he's already XYZ, he's already this. There's not much information about yesterday's suspect, or yesterday's murderer. There's not much information about him as of yet. So
and what this is the thing, like there's a trope, there's a thing that white supremacy does in this country. Let's just start here. The murders last night were 100% a white supremacist murder. And it's deeply rooted in the anti-Asian hatred that has been fomenting across this country as a direct result of the former president of the United States speaking on a regular basis as if Asians are responsible for the coronavirus. In fact, they would have rather started an all-out conflict with China than to accept the responsibility for how they mismanaged. Donald Trump and his administration mismanaged this coronavirus to the tune of 450,000 deaths. To take the heat off of them, they vilified an entire group of people. And it has culminated now in the deaths of 8 individuals, and they were all targeted specifically because they were Asian. There's no other way to see it, because that's where he went. That's who he targeted. And he targeted, this is the part, Rebecca, that you were speaking to. Like, these women were just going to work to make a living, trying to survive. What white supremacy has done in this country for years is to try to make Asians the quote unquote model minority. And they always say, oh, what's wrong with the black community? Because the Asian community has always thrived in America. That's not true. These women are at these parlors trying to make ends meet. There's an enormous amount of poverty in Asian communities across this country, and they are targets of white supremacist attacks in the hatred and the xenophobia and the fear mongering that comes in this country on a regular basis. So you have a twofold problem here that is so heartbreaking. You have Asian women who are simply trying to survive in this ridiculously pathetic capitalistic empire that is called America. And then they become the targets of the hatred that is fomented on top of everything that they're going through. Here comes an entire administration who blames the entirety of coronavirus on a particular population. And of course, it was going to lead to something like this. And you know what they're going to do next? They're going to say they have no responsibility whatsoever. They never take accountability for their actions that lead to direct death and mayhem. And that's, I guarantee you, as everybody starts watching the news today, they're going to see people blaming this on mental health. They're going to see people blaming this on anything except for their hatred that they spewed towards Asian people for the whole last year, for the entirety of this last year.
So my question is, I don't know if there was any information that was newly developed, but now the first thing that I could think of too, when I tried to put the pieces together, because there was so much confusion as to why this person would go to these particular massage parlors and target these women or target these people. And I thought, okay, did he used to work there? Like, was there anything, like, what was it? And then the other thing that came to mind was, you know, could it have been like a hate crime, a racial situation? Now, like, there are, I don't know what's been newly developed. So my question is, have you heard anything? Because what I know is, especially, like I said, in my area, in Cherokee County, it's Trump City out here. They're proudly Trump supporters. So, I mean, we can put those clues together and say that is exactly, possibly could have been what happened. But I just want to be clear, because did he work there? I don't know any background about this 21-year-old murderer.
Let me tell you, I will say this, the fact that it came out overnight that he is the son of a Baptist preacher, a Southern Baptist preacher, I can tell you it's probably all the above. It's probably he's an incel that has been rejected by women. Right. And now all this is speculation, but I know human nature pretty good. He's probably been rejected and probably even got rejected in so many ways that they won't even explore. Right. But then also he probably has a hatred towards massage parlors because of the reputation for it being sex work, and him feeling like, oh, well, you know, he's a son of a Baptist preacher. He probably directly tied it to, you know, condemning them as sinners. Right. And then the third thing, obviously, it's got to be this connection to the amount of the increase in anti-Asian hate crimes that have been spreading across the country. I think it's all the above, to be quite honest. I think it's everything except mental health. Literally everything except for mental health, notwithstanding the fact that you have to have something is broken in you for you to take human lives. But I don't, you know, what they're going to try to coddle this, but they're going to coddle this boy and say that it was something in his childhood. There's something he was no, this is hatred on every level. Hatred of women, hatred of what he probably perceived to be sex workers, and then also hatred for the Asian community because of Donald Trump. Now, and again, all that is speculation, but I would put money on it.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I know they haven't. I was waiting to hear some new stuff as well too this morning, and that would explain why, of course, the FBI is involved. Ben, you brought up a good point. Especially all the anti-hate or the hate stuff that's going on with our Asian brothers and sisters lately. That explains why the FBI is not involved in all of this.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It looks like everything. I can't believe, with the amount of police that I saw yesterday, that this man, I just thought about the process, right? Yeah. How he went to one place, shot up people, And as they were investigating that shooting, he was across the street shooting up another parlor. And then as they were investigating that, this man stopped at stoplights. And went down to another city and did the same thing.
Yeah. It does. I was covering the Mother Emanuel AME story. I guess it was 5 or 6 years ago now. And it happened in this late afternoon hours. And I remember getting a text from, a friend I was working with at the time. And then knowing about it before you go to sleep and then waking up and seeing the exact magnitude of it, it reminds me of the Mother Emanuel AME shooting, where that scumbag walked into a sanctuary during Bible study. And he went there specifically because he knew he was going to be able to kill black people. And sure enough, he ended up killing, I believe it was 7 or 8 black people who opened their arms and welcomed him into their Bible study. And this sadistic piece of human excrement took advantage of those people's willingness to be kind to him, right? It's the same thing. This dude walked into these massage parlors, and they were there to be kind to him. And he took advantage of that and just wiped out 8 people. And that's a level, that's what this all leads to. This is not a one-off event. When you sow nothing but hatred, and then you blame an entire group of people for this is the insult to injury. Like, these are white people. White folks who are angry at a system because they're not getting their version of the white supremacy. Like, they think they're the superior race. And then they look at their situation and they look at their condition and they're like, well, I don't feel superior. It's because you're not. And you're not supposed to think that you're superior to other people. But they have this thing in their head that is promoted by media, that is promoted by Donald Trump, that's promoted by white conservatism in general, and white supremacy across all political spectrums. This idea that they are entitled to more, to be superior. And when that type of hate is coddled and not directly confronted and challenged, and see, people get tired of this cancel culture. Well, look, motherfuckers, if we don't cancel white supremacy is going to kill us. It has been killing us. It has a long history of killing us. And if the biggest thing that you got to worry about is being canceled because you've been a bigot and a racist, then maybe you should look in the mirror and realize that you are 100% complicit with these deaths over and over and over again. It's the same song. Somebody who feels like they deserve more in this country because white supremacy tells them that they're the superior race, and they look in the mirror and realize they're not. And then what do? They roll up to the most vulnerable communities. This is why you see why do you think you see so many trans women being murdered? It's because of a genuine disdain for people who are in lower positions in this society than them. And it makes me infuriated, because if you're pissed off at this system, shoot up. Don't shoot down. Challenge this empire. Challenge this structure. Challenge capitalism. Challenge all the things that are the reason why you're inferior and you're not white supreme. But instead, what do? They target the most vulnerable communities over and over and over again. And if we don't confront this thing head on, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. All right, let's take a quick break. We have more news in Georgia, and it is tied directly. The voter suppression efforts that are happening around this country is directly tied to the white supremacist violence that we've been seeing over and over and over again. James, take us to a quick break. We'll be back with more Like It or Not after this.
It might help if I turn off my microphone. But welcome. Good morning, everyone. And welcome again to Like It or Not, y'all. Got a great show coming up, so make sure that you stay tuned.
Don't need you to save me, but I just really need to be saved.
Shout out to everybody that's in the chat room this morning. I see y'all. Good morning, y'all. Thank you for being here. Shout out to everybody that's streaming. Whatever platform you're streaming from, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of those. We thank you so much. Make sure that you hit that like button, y'all.
Stay good and live.
Denise, thank you. I appreciate it. Bailey, y'all like my shirt? I wanted to feel real stimulated, so make it like a little pineapple on. Good morning, Mama, as well, too. Good morning, Sensation.
Life, cause I love how life's worthless. I'm a paint purple, cause blue's
Melanie, good morning.
We all outdated, we all so jaded. We all lost love like love's our savior.
Mama, you put my whole name
when it's all
in the
about
chat?
paper.
Really?
Cutting pretty cards before they deal you something heinous. I've been steady sitting on my ass. I'm so contemporaneous, in love with my behavior. But really, I could probably try and be something greater. Cause I'm my favorite, you could tell me something
whole
different,
name.
but I probably wouldn't
Like
listen.
the whole
No, I
middle
probably
name and
wouldn't
everything with the correct
Word, that's
spelling.
ego. Scared it's taking over, but fuck it if it's fun to run my tongue up on these road runs. But I know I could lose it all if I'm not careful. I sound scared, hope you feel that my heart's there though.
Don't need you to save me, but I just really need to be saved. I'm just so sick of waiting for any luck to come my way. Feel good, be good, stay good, live good. I could feel good, live good, die good.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Me. I'm just playing, y'all. That's it.
Think about the situation.
Okay.
Wonder if it's ever gonna change.
Sick of spinning these records. Let's just play it.
Feel good, be good, stay good.
All you do is spin records.
I gotta tell you something I could do. I could be running or I'm chasing
Okay.
you, but I won't. Cause I got better
Man, I can't
things to
stand
do.
y'all. All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. My brother Benjamin Dixon, y'all.
Welcome back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. On Monday evening at Coca-Cola headquarters, protesters staged a die-in outside in order to pressure the company to take a firm stance against the anti-voting legislation currently making its way through the Georgia State House. Joining me now to discuss it is Cliff Albright. He is co-founder of Black Voters Matter. And Cliff, thank you so much for joining us at this last second to discuss this important issue. How are you this morning, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure is ours, and it is a sad morning here in the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia in general. What I want to talk about first is the connection between the white supremacist violence that this city and the Asian community suffered last night and the all-out assault on voting rights. I see the connection. A lot of people may not see it, but you were speaking about it. What do you think about how they overlap?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nail. It's that white supremacy. It's really two things, right? One is that fundamental belief in white supremacy. The same thing that believes that you could overturn elections and steal votes is the same thing that makes you think you can steal lives, Asian American lives, right? It's based on that same white supremacy, and it's all based on a big lie, right? Two different big lies. One, the big election lie, right? That this fraud that's out there. But the other one is this big lie that like Asian Americans or Asians in general are to blame for COVID. It's all the same. It's all the same roots, right? It's deeply embedded in even the founding of this country, right? It's the same thing that corrupted the founding, the Constitution, the same yellow peril that they talked about in the 1800s is still with us today. So I'm glad you were speaking up about that issue about this Asian American violence, because it's been going on too long and it's been silent.
In terms of what's happening on the voting suppression legislation that's passing through, you guys have stepped up the pressure because of the equivocating that's going on with these corporations. You reached out to Coca-Cola, the Chamber of Commerce, Delta Airlines, with the expectation that they would fight on behalf of voting rights, as they have fought on behalf of other issues. What have you found to date in terms of their willingness to actually step out and defend voting rights with their political and economic capital?
No, it's been an epic fail on their part. Not only have they not stepped up to defend the voting rights, they've not done anything to really go back on the donations that they've previously made to the very Republican legislators that are pushing these bills. In the case of Coke, over $30,000, not to the party in general, to the very sponsors of these voter suppression bills. And so they're not just on the sideline, they're actually complicit, and they've not really responded well to the actions that we've taken. The die-in on Monday was actually the third day of direct action. We had 2 days of protests and demonstrations at World of Coca-Cola over the weekend, and then we had to die-in on Monday. And so we just got to continue to ramp up the pressure. Coca-Cola at first came out with a statement. Some of you may have seen it all on Twitter, right? That seemed like they were taking a more aggressive stance, but like literally within an hour, they backtracked from their own statements. They backtracked from an article that was in the Washington Post, because Home Depot came out and said, oh, wait a minute. Oh, hold up. We're with the chamber. And in the chamber statement, they don't take a strong stance. In fact, the chamber statement actually reinforces the big lie, because they say we want an approach and legislation that deals with access as well as election security, right? As soon as you hear election security, or as soon as you hear election integrity, guess what? That's voter suppression, because it assumes and accepts the framing of the big lie. It assumes that there's a problem with the security and a problem with the integrity. And so you can't play both sides on this. Salesforce actually came out with a better statement than any of the other companies. And so we're looking for companies like Salesforce to then take those statements and now show us some actions. But in the case of Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Delta, they've not yet even stepped up in terms of their words. And if they can't step up in terms of words, then they're a long way of getting where we need them to be in terms of action.
And so they are still not only complicit, but they're at this point almost co-conspirators, because their donation dollars have gone directly to these politicians that are forwarding and sponsoring this legislation. And yet I guess they're feeling pretty cavalier, as if the black community, who are disproportionately the targets of this legislation, as if we don't have enough juice to actually put pressure on them. But they're feeling kind of froggy here, aren't they?
Yeah, clearly they feel like either one or two things. They feel like we're going to get tired of dealing with them. We just going to burn out. Newsflash, that ain't happening. Or they just feel like we don't have the power. Breaking news, that ain't happening either, right? We've demonstrated that we've got the power, that when we work together, that we can win. We're just at the beginning stages. I've been saying we're at phase 3 right now in terms of the direct action. We're about to take it to the Chamber of Commerce, because they're leading this pack in terms of holding them together and not having them take any aggressive actions. So guess what? We're going to target the chamber, and when we target the chamber, we're not just going to do it at the statewide chamber offices. We got folks all across the state, all across Southwest Georgia, Middle Georgia, and guess what? They got local chambers in their community. So the next phase of our action is that no chamber in any of these counties where we got a strong black presence or where we got partner organizations, for none of them is it going to be business as usual. It will not be business as usual. I want to shout out our partners at New Georgia Project. They got some great billboards that have gone up calling out these companies. So if you're in the Metro Atlanta area, go on and look for them. We're going to be expanding those billboards and taking those to the rest of the state. It will not be business as usual in this state until these companies step up.
No chamber left behind. Let's do me a favor and give the audience, just in case they may have forgotten the severity of this legislation, can you give them a quick rundown of what's at stake? And then following up with that, what our next moves are collectively to push back against it?
Yeah, this legislation, it literally attacks every form of voting. It attacks vote by mail, absentee. It attacks early voting in terms of reducing the number of days, specifically attacking Sunday voting, which we know is a day where we do black communities across the state do souls to the polls. And it attacks same day voting, right? At every level, there's an attack on the voting process. One of the things that they're talking about, possibly there was some discussion that they might take out because they feel like it's a lightning rod, is this issue of attacking the no excuse vote by mail. And there was some discussion that, well, if we take that out, we might be able to slide it through. Even if they were to do that, there's literally a dozen of other provisions in this bill that are equally horrible. In fact, there's one provision that if I could just mention, because a lot of people are talking about it, and it's the provision that says that if there's an election and if there appears to be some irregularities and the local board of election certifies, right, that the state can then take over the local board of election.
Wow.
So that, you know, if you go back to what happened in this most recent election, where you had people national and statewide that were trying to say, oh, there's fraud. But county after county, the board of elections were saying, look, we administered this. We've checked it. There's no fraud, right? If this bill had been in place for this most recent election, the state would have been able to come in, overturn those results, get rid of those local election boards, change those results. So literally, even if everything else, if every other provision in these bills got squashed, that one provision would basically allow the state at any time to overturn any election. That might be the most dangerous provision in this bill.
What's our next move, man? What is, I know you said we're at stage 3. What happens when we get to DEFCON 4?
DEFCON 4. They don't want DEFCON 4. You know, everything's on the table. You know, like we said, stage 3 is where we're doing this direct action, where we're going to their businesses, where we're going to their offices. We've been making phone calls and all that, and text messages. That's continuing, the advertising. But when we get to the next phase, and that means we're gonna have to ramp up the direct action, right? We're gonna have to have an even more direct impact on all of these companies and their businesses. Right now, we're actually looking at some of these legislators. We're looking at what's their personal business interests. We had some of our partners in one of our counties. They went after the leading sponsor on the House side, the state House side, is this representative named Barry Fleming, old school voters presser. He also happened to be the county attorney in Hancock County, which is over 70% Black. And so some of our partners there, the local organizers, they got together, they went to the county commission, they said, look, we can't have him as our county attorney if he's going to be the main sponsor of these voter suppression bills. And guess what? He done lost his job, right? So we're taking a close look at all of these representatives, any one of them that have any kind of business interests, any kind of county contracts, any kind of other relationships, especially relationships with some of these corporate 500 companies, we're coming after them. And so we're ramping it up day by day, week by week. We're not going to stop until we squash these bills. And we believe that there's movement going on right now. Got a lot of people nervous in the Georgia corporate community. So we're just going to keep ramping it up. The other thing, though, the other piece is this. There's also the federal piece to this, right? Because at the end of the day, if H.R. 1 and H.R. 4 had already been passed, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. Because everything that Georgia's trying to do would have been already illegal with H.R. 1. We've got to end the filibuster. Now, absolutely. Not next month, not next year, not next week. We've got to end the filibuster now and get movement on these voting rights legislation that's pending in Congress right now.
Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Thank you so much for joining us at the last second. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
James, take us to a quick break. When we come back, more Like It or Not after this.
Shout out to everybody this morning. Thank you again, Cliff Albright, for joining us on Like It or Not this morning. It's our absolute pleasure.
I gotta tell you something I could do.
And shout out to everybody in the chat room, man. I appreciate the love so much, y'all.
But I won't, cause I got better things to do. Rather spend my precious time chasing somebody who loves me too. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive. If you hadn't run away every time I asked you stay, you would sleep right next to me tonight. And you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle.
Good morning, Nat. A, Nat, M, I see y'all. Good morning.
Found your magics and your side chicks. I'm a winner, babe. But you didn't win this, it's a part of the game. In the beginning, I just didn't know that you're an enemy I held too close. Now I know, 'cause you did everything to
Right,
prove
Purple
me
Rain
wrong.
Hearts.
You were not
Appreciate
what I
that.
thought.
Courtney, good
Now I'm
morning.
treating you at your own. Yeah. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive. And you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had my ways.
Maddie, I appreciate that, Maddie. Thank you so much.
I'm a winner, babe. But you didn't win this, it's a part of the game.
Hey, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. Make sure that you share and subscribe, y'all, so you know when Like It or Not is going down.
Man, I really love to play, and now that I won, then it's safe to say you didn't want me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had my ways around your mind tricks and your side chicks. I'm a winner, babe, but you didn't win this, it's a part of the game. And you didn't want me, all you wanted.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen, Rebecca and Ben.
I miss the music. I really have. I've been missing the music.
I was gonna say I have too, but I've been here with the music. We've been jamming every day without you, Rebecca.
I know.
Welcome back.
I see.
It's a rough morning for you to come back with everything that's happened in the news, but we missed you. Sort of.
Yeah, because me and Bubba this morning were on the same page. We didn't know that. I thought it was going to be a tone shift, a tone change. You know, like in news, there's a tone change.
Yeah.
And you just went straight in.
Came out the gate.
Bubba,
Boom.
and I was like, excuse me. And then Bubba was smiling. Bubba was like ready to be like, Rebecca. Because I felt that. I felt
normally.
I felt it, Bubba.
Yeah. No, we had to delay our reunion.
No, it's understandable, but it's understandable. I would have loved to know, because I know everybody saw me. I was ready.
When you saw we had a couple things behind the scenes that did not give us time to actually talk with each other first. So now here we are. Welcome back.
Hey guys,
just take it. Just like people give you compliment, can't even.
What's the compliment? You was like, we was good without you, Rebecca. So like what? But
I didn't say
guys,
that, did I?
You did.
I said that yesterday.
Love you guys. Oh, you said that yesterday. I wasn't even here. That's crazy.
Yeah. No,
but,
we drug you for filth while you were gone.
That's okay. That's okay. Because I'm here.
Sorry.
I'm here now. But
what's up? I'm here now.
Yes. I've been working, and that's just the thing. I've been working. So until I'm free, that's just going to be the situation. I love you guys. I would love to be here every single morning.
And who the pride sets free will be free indeed. Come on, pride.
Come on, pride. Let's get it popping. You know what I mean? Let's get it popping. But
leave us free.
There's so much that's been happening, though. So much ridiculousness. Is that even a word? I don't know. But there's so much craziness happening. TV and show. I know that since the Grammys, I know that you guys probably watched, and there was a particular performance by both Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B, which of course is their song that they have together.
Amazing,
the Cardi B song featuring the Cardi B song featuring Meg Thee Stallion, which is WAP, Wet. Yes, and then
you might as well say it, because I dropped
praise.
something.
I'm not saying it. I don't like saying. I don't even like worship and praise. I don't even like saying that the P word.
Worship
I don't
and
even
praise?
use that in my language. So, but in reaction to the Grammys on Sunday night, Candace Owens went on Tucker Carlson to decry to whine about, to complain, to hate. The performance of WAP by Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion. Let's take a look at what she said.
Any words about it. They call this great. They say this is fabulous, that this is the stuff that children should be aspiring towards. So at the same time, Tucker, that we have kids that are not learning hard academics anymore in school, right? Forget about mathematics and science. You can trust the science and trust Dr. Fauci, but you have these kids learning about critical race theory. They're learning that they should aspire to people like Cardi B. You see that fundamentally we are seeing the destruction of American values, American principles, and it's terrifying. I think parents should be terrified that this is the direction that our society is heading towards. And again, we are weakening America. That's really what we should be talking about. This is a weakening of American society. We are setting the stage, and it feels like we are looking at corrosion, like we are about to see the end of an empire. America cannot survive. It cannot be sustained under these sorts of values and principles.
Dumbass.
So let me say this. I know I look like Bambi, the little deer. That's what everybody tells me. I'm a tall girl, and I have like a long face, so people compare me to that particular animal deer. Like, yes, I look like Bambi. My vibrato when I sing has a little bit of that in it too. And Ben, I think that's a lamb, bro. Like I said, Bambi, a deer.
I kept trying to think what a deer sounds like, but I just went with a lamb. Go ahead.
I don't even think deers talk for real. I don't know, but
I hope they don't talk.
They don't talk, but their own language. Okay,
I know you were going somewhere with this, though.
So she gives me ET.
Yes.
I call myself like, I pride myself in that. It took me for a while to really know I look like, everybody looks like an animal. That's my animal. I don't know if ET is like a alien. Sometimes my face gives alien structure, but she's giving ET in this particular, she's giving ET. I just want to say
giving all ET.
And she's not, and I don't think she's an ugly woman at all or whatever, but that when you are just filled with whatever, you just come off really bland, and it doesn't compliment you. So I think I like to say, now I watched the performance, and yes, I loved it myself. Like I was like, yes, ooh. Now Cardi B had a little bit of a struggle. Meg Thee Stallion was sealing the deal. I absolutely, it was good. I love to see the performance. I like the sauce of it. I like the energy. But the craziness that people surround, like just the stuff that Candace Owens, don't focus on that then. If everything ain't for everybody, right? This is not for everybody. Sometimes things may be over-sexualized to you, and that's your opinion and that's your way. But why is it politics? I'm gonna go into the Pepe Le Pew thing and right. So they wanted to compare the two and be like, and men were more so having that conversation online saying, we're canceling this, but then we're showing this. Yeah. Well, listen, guys, just choose your thing and do that. This is what I say. Right. Cancel culture gets a little weird, and there's a gray area for me here because we want to cancel this and we want to cancel this and we're not canceling. And it's like everybody gonna live their life at the end of the day. But to make stuff politics that ain't politics, and there's real politics going on in the world, that's my thing about it. You are so mad about this, and it's ridiculous. Now they went online. And they were going back and forth about it. Cardi B says to her, like, thanks for focusing on WAP. Please, I want to go like 6 times platinum. And if you focus on this on your show, you can allow it to do that. So keep mentioning, my song. And then she comes back at her and says something. And Candace comes back at her and says something. And then Cardi B goes out and pulls a tweet from the blogs that stated that had a screenshot that clearly was doctored, but it stated that her husband had an affair with her brother, and she wanted to join in, but clearly it was doctored and was back from 2016. But here's the white supremacist in Candace Owens. She chose that moment. She knew that tweet was out there, and she knew those blogs were out there, and it's free for everybody to pull. But the white supremacist in her chose Karen, and what that person did was say, "Oh, I'm going to sue you because you doctored it." Right. To Cardi B. And so all of this was happening back and forth. Now, all of this is happening back and forth. Now, Cardi B says, I'm going to sue you for lying because this is in the blogs and you knew it, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm trying to say is all of this happened all because they performed this song on the Grammys. White people like Madonna and Christina Aguilera, who's kissed Britney Spears on an award show. They've done sexual things like this before. So why is it such an issue when it's happening here? I'm tired. Like I'm tired of it. Now there are things that I don't agree with that maybe to me maybe over sexualized or whatever. But if I'm rocking with this, I'm rocking with it. Some people ain't. Some people are. If you don't want your kids to listen to it, police your kids. Police what they're listening to. You can do that. You can make the rules around your life when it comes to music, when it comes to whatever. Why is this such a big deal? Why?
Why? Because they want to control the sexuality of women. That's what it is. Like Candace is just doing the bidding of white supremacy and misogyny. Like she's literally there. She's literally says that she's there on behalf of white men. Okay. So when I say she's doing the bidding of white supremacy and misogyny, I'm not making that up. Her number one group that she wants to defend is white men. That said, historically, they've always wanted to control the sexuality of women, particularly black women. And there's nothing more terrifying to a man who ain't getting none than women out there living their best life, their best sexuality life, like just being who they want to be, doing who they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it, the way they want to do it. That is the most offensive thing to a dude, to do, a lot of dudes in general, but specifically those who want that. These men want Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, and they're infuriated because here are women who are making an obscene living, like just money upon money, by doing what the hell they want to do with their bodies, how they want to do it. And while most people in the year of our Lord 2021 are like, hey, that's their business, I'm not going to put it on TV for my kids to watch. I'm probably going to catch a shot of it when I'm going down Instagram. I'm going to watch it and go about my business. But for a whole lot of people, they are infuriated because how dare those women actually do what they want to do with their bodies. It's the same old tired game that they've been pulling since like the Catholic Church was founded 2,000 years ago. So it's about control in my best estimation. Candace Owens, on the other hand, it's about her getting that bag on behalf of white men.
Yeah, that's all it is. She decided that it's two black women made a song. Why not go after them? Because she's black as well too, or she just looks black. She's not black. I'm sorry, and that's all it is. She's not black. F that. She's not black.
She's so.
I can't stand her. Ooh, makes my ass itch. I can't stand her.
Oh God, not that.
Sorry, y'all.
Not that.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Who said? What is that from? What movie is that from? I know that it's from one of the movies. Make my ass itch.
She's definitely black. She's just one of those diamond and what's her name?
Silk. Diamond and
silk. Yeah.
She's a Ben Carson.
Cubic zirconia and lint.
You know, she's black. She's just not refined. And I can't. She at one point knew what it was, so she knows what it is. But she went to where the money's at, where the money resides for her. Well, and yes, there is money in being a sellout. There's money there. There's money there.
No, the good money is there. Listen, we still trying to get enough patrons. Go to patreon.com.
Being loyal
to break my friends free from this corporate structure that they are in chain to. Give us free, right? Had at any point, let me tell you this, there's a couple things that we could do and get rich quick. At any point, if we decide to do the bidding of white supremacy, we literally would be millionaires before the end of this year, before my birthday in June. We would all three of us would be millionaires if we did the same shtick that Candace Owens does. If we did the same thing, if we never criticized the Democratic establishment, oh man, if I never criticized the Democratic establishment, I could be getting paid at least $1 million a year on one of these corporate television shows, right? If I simply just kept my mouth shut and did the bidding of a certain small group of leftists who want us to do what they want us to do, we could the point is that at any point a black person decides to do the bidding of any particular group of white people, there are checks waiting for us. But if we do it our way, then, and that's what Candace Owens realized. She tried to do it from a leftist perspective. She was a liberal at first. I don't know if she ever considered herself a progressive, but she was a liberal at first, suing an organization on behalf of racism, right? But she realized very quickly that she wasn't talented enough to actually foment to the top of this circle and this space, because we actually talented over here. And so she had to take her talents, her meager talents, over into South Beach to white supremacy so that she could get the bag. And she's getting the bag. So
she's getting the bag. You can't be mad at it. But that's just her MO. But one thing about it, she has to know that every time that she packs up and comes with somebody, we're gonna send her back to the delivery, because it's at the end of the day.
If she getting the bag, she need to get her hair done.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, I love a pullback. I love a booty part, or a middle part, as they call it, and a pullback.
I'm trying not to insult
but
her.
At the end of the day, it's like, sweetie, when you got to slay, at least do a Stacey Dash slay. At least give her Omarosa like a little something with.
Hey, let me tell you, Omarosa
you ain't
is as evil as she be on point.
Yeah,
she does. Killing it out.
What you call it is giving flat. Just a flat note.
It's giving very much door.
Just foundation that's not matching.
She need to set them roots free. She need to set them ends free. Edges free.
No, it's
anyway,
okay. She needs to go natural, because that will be. I think that will give.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we have some more guests, a lot more news to cover. More like it or not, right after this. Y'all are wild.
Can't stand her. If y'all ain't realize it, make sure that you go to patreon.com/the BPD show. Patreon.com/the BPD show, y'all. That way you can support the show, become a member, and then get exclusive content, ad-free content, all that good stuff, and also be invited to the Patreon parties that go down on Friday nights. Man, don't want to miss those. Y'all get there too at patreon.com/the BPD show, y'all.
Let's take a trip all around the world. Buy you the finest things you deserve. You need a man who's gonna put you first. Let me be the one.
Alicia, love you too, ma'am. Good morning.
Let me be the one.
Bryce, this is called Let Me Be.
I really like the way you move. The way you move that body so icy. Body like a centerfold.
Chuck Diesel. Shout out to Chuck Diesel. Chuck, by the way, sir, please remember, like it or not, is not responsible for any breaking furniture that you may incur while you are dancing in your living room. Thank you, management.
What we doing tonight? Stick with me, I'ma change your life. I'll show you things you never seen before. Let's take a trip all around the world. Buy you the finest things you deserve.
I've been thinking, you don't really know one thing about doing that. I see a parting, but just to conceal it with.
Hey, Stimmy Star.
So all you lucky ones, what up?
Child, my Stimmy dropped Friday night, Rebecca.
I mean, don't get me wrong, but what up? Or was I not the one you dreamt of?
Man, look.
No, cause the life you live will never be enough. Why don't you stop for a minute? Just relax yourself. This moment will never come back.
Yeah, you'll probably get a paper check.
It's sad you never thought I was good enough.
Aurora, thank you so much, y'all.
And it's all a bluff. It's all a bluff.
Look, I was.
It's all a bluff.
Yeah. Like that first one came, like I got that one like real. No, actually that one did come late. Now the 600, that one dropped like, what the hell? Right. Be having a full-on conversation with y'all. I was like, oh wait a minute, I'm on the camera. Y'all welcome back. Ben and Rebecca.
free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Joining me now is New York State Senator Jabari Brisport. Jabari is the state senator for New York's 25th State Senate District, representing parts of Brooklyn. And prior to joining the New York State Senate, Senator Brisport worked as a public school teacher in Brooklyn, where he was born and raised. Brother, how are you this morning? Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm good, Ben. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I love the work you're doing. I'm so happy to be here.
Hey, man, the pleasure is genuinely ours. There's a lot for us to cover, particularly you being in New York. Obviously, there's a lot going on. It's budget time for the state of New York, as well as all of the ruckus that's going on around Governor Andrew Cuomo. But I want to start first with you and your race, your candidacy, because anytime we get to see not only a black man, but also a progressive actually get power anywhere in this country, it's actually an achievement for our goals. So could you just tell the people a little bit about you, your candidacy, and your victory?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Ben. So I'm a black socialist. I'm also the first openly queer person of color ever elected to the New York State Legislature. And I ran on universal rights, saying that every single person should have access to housing, a decent education, clean energy, and healthcare. And the people voted us in.
Hey, and that is, I love that you started right out the gate. You're a black socialist. There's so few of us. And when we do actually say that we automatically just an FBI file just poof out of nowhere just appears. So I know you being a black queer socialist in power, your FBI file is probably twice as big as mine. That said, tell me some of the about the pushback that you get because of all of those identities that you represent, and how that has impacted you as a person.
I mean, I think the biggest pushback is people saying that I'm out of touch with what the majority of New Yorkers want. And that's a lot of the arguing that's happening right now as we discuss this budget, which is, how much we actually want to tax the rich and make sure that we're investing in working class people in the 99%. And so many of our conversations are like, Jabari, these policies are going to scare away a lot of our voters. They're going to scare away Democrats. They're going to make us lose to Republicans. And all the polls show that, the people saying this are the ones out of touch. Like the majority of New Yorkers support these redistributive policies, taxing wealthy people, investing in social services, which is like akin to, my race, actually. People say socialism is this far left fringe, whatever. But when you hear what we're talking about, when we're gunning for, it's actually to uplift the working class and the 99% of us.
Yeah. How can and this is the part, this is what bugs me, man, about this, because they will say that you're out of touch. And particularly, let's talk about your tax policies and things you advocate for as a socialist. They say that you're out of touch, but what you're literally advocating for is what working people absolutely need. And when you have a chance to speak with them, I know that you hear that this is what working people really want. So one, who's saying that you're out of touch? And do they realize that they are actually the people who don't know what the hell is going on around their state?
I've spoken to my colleagues. I've told them already, it doesn't make sense if, 90% of the state is saying, sure, raise taxes on these people, and this people. And like y'all are saying, oh, we can't do that. That's too much. We can't touch those people. They're not actually that rich. Like, I'm saying I don't want to be, we're going to be perceived, the Democratic body of the New York State Senate is going to be perceived as out of touch.
So talk about this, it's budget season there. Where are the priorities? If there's only one thing that I actually take from Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is when she said, show me your budget, show me your values. So talk about the budget in New York and how does it align, or what does it reveal about the values of New Yorkers or the people in power in New York?
So we worked really hard to roll back the governor's proposed budget. The way it works in New York is the governor proposes a budget, then the legislators propose their own budget, then we kind of hash it out until we come up with the final thing. So the governor's budget had all these cuts in it to social services, and we rejected all of those and found more money to invest in Medicaid health, education, and housing, rental forgiveness, and ensuring that people could have some degree of dignity moving out of the COVID-19 crisis. It is not enough. Like, I was pushing for a lot more revenue, and I'm going to keep doing that until the final budget on April 1st. But, our priorities are really, ensuring that people are not hurt even more than they have been in the past year.
Absolutely. Another topic, I don't know if I want to spend too much time on this, but it has to be spoken about. Governor Andrew Cuomo, the allegations are piling up. I actually, and I think we probably know one of the first accuser, Lindsey Boylan, because she was running for office and I tracked her campaign pretty closely. But since she was the first one to come out, there have been subsequent women who have come out and said the exact same thing. But yet and still, Cuomo is refusing to resign, and he is mounting an offense against pushing back against not only the women, but anybody who's speaking out about it. Where do you stand on the governor in terms of whether or not he's going to resign?
I think he's too proud to resign. I've already called for impeachment with several of my socialist legislators. And you kind of hit it on the head. Like, what we're seeing is, in addition to the allegations, we have a culture of abuse and bullying, which he's perpetrated throughout his entire tenure as the governor, and we've seen the gaslighting that he enjoys doing and looking for someone else to blame for the faults. We heard previously, AOC once said, like, in any other country, me and Joe Biden would not be in the same party. In any country, me and Governor Cuomo would not be in the same party. He's a right-wing Democrat that has pushed austerity policies, sought to cut services for the working class. When we go to the nursing homes, for example, his systemic underfunding of healthcare led to those being just hollowed out, being understaffed, and that really exacerbated the number of people that died in nursing homes. That's his fault.
Yeah, no, and that you took the words right out of my mouth, because as egregious and offensive and as much as he should resign because of the sexual harassment and assault allegations, I mean, the nursing home cover up, to me, should have been the very first thing that he should have been held accountable for. Could you speak about and explain to the people what happened there and the lack of accountability around that specific issue?
Yeah, Governor Cuomo was granted an expansion of emergency powers at the top of the pandemic last year in March. And one of the things he did early on in late March last year was that nursing homes were refusing to take back patients that had been that had tested positive for COVID-19, and he basically switched the law so that they would have to be forced to take them back. And then he also gave legal immunity to the executive boards of nursing homes in case there were any increases in deaths. And then he lied and said that there were fewer people dying than actually were, and hid the actual numbers from the public to avoid blowback. And it has all started to come out in the past few months, and it is just awful, and it's really disgusting what he's done.
And just one last, I keep saying last question, this may be the last one, but what really is one of the biggest challenges that we're facing with Governor Cuomo is the amount of fanaticism that surrounded him because of the media portrayal of him early on. And so while the media was flattering him and creating this cult of personality around him, he was actually implementing policies that contributed to death and covering it up. Could you speak to the popularity? Where does it stand now that all of these truths are coming out, as opposed to where it stood at the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was, well, not everybody, but too many people were fans of him? Yeah.
So Governor Cuomo is, I like to call him a Machiavellian mastermind. Machiavelli says it's the best to be feared and loved, or just be feared if you can. So Governor Cuomo has gotten away for 10 years being loved by the populace at large in New York, but feared by other legislators who know that he is a bully and extremely vindictive. And the popularity came just from him being consistent and seeming like he had a plan. and making people think that he was on top of everything, while meanwhile he was sweeping deaths under the rug. And so, you can only keep people scared of you for so long while doing really disgusting things. And now stuff is coming out to light. Politicians are standing up. Assemblymember Ron Kim is saying, I'm not scared of you anymore. I'm going to say what you did, and I'm not going to back down when you threaten me or threaten to destroy my career. And you see other people coming forward as well.
Brother, tell everybody how they can get up with you and support what you're working on.
So my name is Jabari Brisport. I'm a state senator in New York. You can email me at brisport@newyorksenate.gov, or you can follow me on Twitter at Jabari Brisport.
Jabari, thanks so much for joining us, and we would love to have you back anytime you're available.
Thanks, Ben. I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. James, take us to a quick break. More Like It or Not, right after this.
When I'm going out, you'll be there.
Senator Jabari Brisport, thank you so much again for joining us this morning, y'all. It's Like It or Not.
Girl, I think I'm losing my mind.
And as usual, y'all, we're going to have y'all some good music on today.
Everyone keep looking like you. I can't take no more. I miss your touch from your hands and your body. It hurts so much to think of you as someone else. Can't get enough when you're sweet talking to me. Now I'm talking sweet all by myself. Put your arms around me, put your faith in me, put your love on me.
Shout out to everybody that's in the chat room, y'all. Make sure that y'all are hitting that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button, and make sure that you share and subscribe, y'all, so you know when Like It or Not is going down.
Put your faith in me, put your love on me. Can we stop the clock and rewind? Go back to that moment in time when you say you want me for life. Was it all a lie? I gave my all to deserve ya, begging on my knees just to show ya you're the one I want and I love ya. No lie. I miss your touch from your hands and your body. It hurts so much to think of you as someone else. Can't get enough when you're sweet talking to me. Now I'm talking sweet all by myself. Put your arms around me, put your faith in me, put your love on me. What you need from me, need your love on me, put your love on me. I'ma do everything.
Chuck Diesel, we see you.
I don't want anyone but you. Put your arms around me, put your faith in me, put your love on me. Your love, 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 put your love on me.
Hey, y'all petty, bro. What y'all talking about?
I miss your touch from your hands and your body.
That's what I said. I'm like, I know Dwayne over here, because y'all should have seen me over here hopping up and down and crap.
You ain't gotta stand in the mirror with your makeup on, cause you know that take way too long. I just want that right now, girl, you over outside. I can't wait just to get this on it. You want it right now, want it right now. Don't take too long, yeah. You want it right now, want it right now. Don't take too long.
Yes, Hot Girl Summer Part 2.
Don't keep it away, girl, it's been too long. You know what I've been craving. Girl, I'm tryna taste it. You know what I like. Wanna get freaky in the night.
Damn that,
And she all on my type. And you know I don't like to wait, dawg. But she look good. You ain't gotta stand in the mirror.
All right, y'all.
Cause you know that take too long. I just want that right now, girl. You
damn right there.
I can't wait just to get this on.
Y'all welcome back to the screen. Rebecca and Ben.
Oh, my. If you guys could hear what goes on behind the camera.
They probably did, knowing Dwayne. Dwayne is the thing. Dwayne be having mics on, baby.
Mics be
Dwayne
wide
had it all open. We just talked about everything.
Oh, my Lord. We were talking about our knees and the hot girl summer and twerking. I was like, my knees still work pretty good. My knees, I get my twerking in. It's exercise. It's part of my daily, I run 2 miles and then I twerk for 30 seconds. Twerking is a full on, like, cardiovascular experience. You can't do that without being in shape.
It definitely,
You can't do it long without being in shape.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm a Florida girl, and I'm Haitian, so knees have to be utilized when you're doing compa.
Right.
And the man is dipping you, and you got to swing them knees. You got to get low in the squats. And then I'm Florida girl, so then it's like get low in your squats and shake your rump. That wasn't Meg. That was us back in Florida.
Oh yeah,
bopping,
right.
Dropping,
which makes me like I hope I never grow up, right? Because all these old people who are talking about Tucker Carlson know that he used to be out there looking at all these women twerk back in the day when he was at Woodstock. You know what I mean? Like when they get a little bit older, like, oh, shame on you. No, this is literally what your auntie and them and your grandmama and them used to be doing back in the day.
Freak knee.
Yeah,
no,
Black college reunion.
Black college reunion, Bubba.
Black college reunion.
Any homecoming, like any
FAMU's homecoming.
Ooh, exactly. And so that's where I actually refined and added quality to my twerking and my bop, because we had the dance called bop, you know what I mean, like drop.
Yeah.
So listen, you had to be on your knee, like the knees everywhere. Like you come in knees. Men were doing backflips into the knee drop.
Oh my goodness.
Today, there's like this funny video going around with the song "In the Arms of an Angel." That right?
Talk about the sacrificing of their knees.
If you were in 2007 to 2000, he said 2010, in the bopping era, you may be eligible for.
For a class action lawsuit for them knees.
Right. It had videos of all of us from like those years, with the large T-shirts and in the Fabo glasses, doing the damn bop. And I did it yesterday, and I was like, dang, my workouts have been really strengthening. My runs have been really strengthening my legs because baby girl was bopping. But about 3 months ago, when I was slacking on my pimpin', I tried to get down and lower my squats. Couldn't get back up, sweetie.
Let me tell you something. Running ain't nothing like, man, running as like my legs are like they angry at the world, just like the muscles that are popping on them right now. Because that running ain't no joke, man. Like I spent most of my years before, like just doing whatever other exercise. I used to stay away from running because I used to get Charlie horses all the time, and all of a sudden they just went away. So now I can run.
Because now you've been doing.
Yeah, I've been doing it longer, and I'm like 90 pounds lighter than I was when I first started. But I want to address something real quick before we do a story, and then we have one more guest. Nick in the chat room said the real question is, why is Ben twerking? Listen, y'all gotta understand, I'm a Florida boy. I grew up in Florida, city boy, popping it like
all it takes is for this to come on, and that's it.
And they start doing all the and don't let them have on no gym shorts or whatever. They gon' everything. That's a Florida thing.
Okay.
So
wait. We got to get professional here because we have another guest coming in. In a minute. I don't want the councilwoman to think that she's coming into a whole bunch of foolishness, but she is, and we know how to pivot. But it is. But yes, no. When you're from Florida, you also have you simultaneously know how to twerk no matter how old you are, but you also have rights to a class action lawsuit against every single song that ever came out that messed up your knees the way they messed up all of ours.
Shouts out to the Lauderdale drop. Shouts out to the Bob.
Come on, Lauderdale.
Shouts out to 2007. Shouts out to Palm Beach, South Florida. What's up?
Hey, somebody said they want to see me twerking. There are plenty. I got plenty of videos out there from marching band that y'all see. Y'all can dig them up. They on
marching band twerks.
Oh my God!
Like all
Look
day.
up Marching Wildcats, 1998 to 2020. Okay.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about some tax policy. These lies that Larry Kudlow is trying to spread across the country. Let's see if we can pivot from twerking to tax policy, Rebecca.
So Larry Kudlow, who served as director of the National Economic Council during the Trump administration, went on Fox News, The Ingram Angle, on Monday to discuss the possibility that Joe Biden may be raising taxes for the first time since 1993. Kudlow gave a very dumb reason. I'm glad you guys are using that word now. Dumb reason as to why we should tax people less, not more. Let's take a look.
Fair share. The way to get upper income people to pay more in taxes is lower their tax rate. Not only will they have investment incentives, they will also have no tax avoidance.
So Kudlow's rationale relies on the heavily debunked idea known as the Laffer curve. Mm-hmm. The Laffer curve argues that excessive taxation of the wealthy will become self-defeating with regards to raising revenue. When George H.W. Bush was asked about the Laffer curve with regards to Ronald Reagan's tax policy, even he referred to it as voodoo economics. Let's take a look at that clip.
What I'm saying is that this type of what I call a voodoo economic policy, it just isn't going to work.
Last night, Vice President Bush was asked about that and corrected the record.
Well, what I said back then, it's very hard to find. Actually, let me start over. One, I didn't say it. Nobody, every network's looked for it, and none can find it. It was never said.
There was a fund.
Did he just back off the very thing he did?
He did. We're going to get to that in a second, but during the 2020 campaign, Joe Biden repeatedly promised to raise taxes on those who earn more than $400,000 a year, and also reversing some of Trump's tax cuts by increasing the tax rate for corporations to 28%. So back to that video. You see how Republicans do? Okay? You see how Republicans do? They've been doing this for years. This man literally said what he said.
Voodoo economics.
He said voodoo economics.
I never said it.
They looked for it in the media. They couldn't find it. That's a lie. I never said it. You are on record saying it. It doesn't matter. They literally will. They literally will take the food from your mouth and say it wasn't them. It wasn't me. Shaggy that thing. It wasn't me.
Here's the thing. I requested that voodoo economics part be put in there because I'm like, well, even George H.W. Bush understood that it was. And then this dude backed right. Dwayne, do you have that? Could you play it one more time? Because
you didn't know he backed out of it?
I didn't know I did not. I don't recall. play it one more time, this clown.
What I'm saying is that this type of what I call a voodoo economic policy, it just isn't going to work.
Last night, Vice President Bush was asked about that and corrected the record.
Oh, well, what I said back then, it's very hard to find.
I know what it was.
Actually, let me start over. One, I didn't say it. Nobody, every network's looked for it, and none can find it.
Okay.
It was never said.
This is what happened.
There was a fund.
This is what happened. So when he first said it was voodoo economics, which it is, the Laffer curve is absolutely, it was created by this guy named Arthur Laffer, right? And he literally sat at a dinner with Ronald Reagan and drew out his economic theory on a napkin, right? And on that napkin, he said that the more you decrease taxes, the more people are going to pay in taxes. And he had this explanation of it that has been debunked over the last 40 years since that day. But I want y'all to realize the entirety of our economic paradigm right now is built off of some random dude drawing a curve on a napkin, giving it to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan started running on that. And he was running against George H.W. Bush. And this is what happened. During the campaign, George H.W. Bush said it is voodoo economics. Then he got picked to be Ronald Reagan's vice president. And of course, he's not going to say voodoo economics. So that's why he backed off of it. He didn't have the backbone to actually stand to his principles because, well, that's what politicians generally do. Yes. That said, for Larry Kudlow to be trying to push this idea that if we just lower taxes in the year of our Lord 2021, when we have over 40 or damn near 50 years of evidence that shows that nothing ever trickles down. The only thing that wealth doesn't trickle down. You don't pay more in taxes. We don't have more in taxes in our coffers. We have a deficit. The deficit exploded so much. Not that I give a damn about the deficit, but if we're going to use their language, the deficit exploded so much after Ronald Reagan enacted the Ross-Kemp tax cuts, the trickle-down economics tax cuts. The deficit blew up so much that he had to go back and raise taxes again. So there was evidence that this was voodoo economics and that it did not work. But now we have 40, 45, 50 years of evidence showing that this does not work. And Larry Kudlow is trying to start the conversation because Joe Biden is talking about raising taxes ever so slightly, right? He's not talking about raising taxes nearly enough, right? There shouldn't even be billionaires, but I digress. The point is that he is talking about raising taxes, and now you have Republicans coming out with this 1980 ass backwards voodoo economic policy, and they're going to push it over and over and over again when we literally have evidence showing that rich people do not pay more in taxes when you lower their taxes. It is absolutely not even voodoo economics. It's dumbass economics, if you ask me, Rebecca and James. That's my take.
Yeah, and I mean, eat the rich. Biden is literally just increasing taxes by I think 28% it was, and I mean they'll cry about 5%. They'll say that we're taking food away from their kids' mouths. Like, it's crazy to me how much when the rich folks are attacked or like stuff is taken from them, which is not going to affect them in the slightest way, but they will scream and cry. We recall when Jeff Bezos was saying that he couldn't afford to give the employees of like places like Whole Foods, I think, a raise, and they couldn't afford it. My dude, like, these people are crazy. Like, how can you not afford this? How is this a conversation? How are these things possible? You're like one of the richest men on the face of the planet, but you can't pay your people. Like, that's crazy to me. You can't afford to pay them, but they're out here doing that. The same thing, like, rich folks will cry about anything and they'll make up stuff and say, this is what's hurting me. The fact that you guys took away 2% from me. Now my child 2%. Cannot go into a Ivy League school illegally. Like, it's not going to happen because you guys took 2% out of my tax. This 2% is crazy. More. So yeah, increase the taxes 2% more.
It is because you think about it. Look at one of the greatest expansions in this country's history, right? The taxes that were implemented, I believe, during Dwight Eisenhower's presidency. The top marginal rate was 96%, which means like, and they try to scare you and say, oh, you're going to take 96% of every dollar. No. It's like 96% over $1 million or $1 billion or whatever the specifics were at that time, which means like your first million is cool. They're only going to tax you at some ridiculous rate, especially if you're getting capital gains, right? The best thing about, I'm going to go on a tangent real quick. The best thing about Joe Biden's conversation about raising taxes is that he's talking about taxing people who get capital gains at the same rate that they tax labor and income, which basically means the people who sit back at home every day and watch their money make money, and they don't actually have to go and work and receive that money as income, they have been getting taxed at a lower rate than every single one of us who makes a modest living. If you look at your taxes all together, they hitting you about 35%. For the longest time, billionaires have been able to watch their wealth grow with a tax rate somewhere around 15%. And so finally, one of the best things I see is that Joe Biden is talking about taxing those people who are making all their money in the stock market and their money is making money. He's talking about taxing them at the same rate they tax labor. That's the way it always should have been. But it was never like that because this country always puts emphasis on capitalists over labor. The people who already got money don't have as much of a burden to carry this country as the people who ain't got money. And Rebecca, you hit it dead on. Like, they got so much money that they can do literally they're on their 4th yacht, their 18th mansion. They're on their 8th Maserati, and that's just in their one garage, in their one mansion. But they can't see fit to give people $15 an hour. And that's not a system that can sustain itself. That's a system that will implode on itself, and people will eat the rich. Just like you said, if they keep playing around, they're going to mess around and find out.
Yeah, they're going to, I know you're trying to pivot to go back to a commercial or a music break, but listen. The way that, I was about to say their name, but the Lord stopped me. But the way that this corporation takes from me, and I know we've discussed this already. I know, Bubba, you can definitely understand. I take home 65% of my paycheck because them people tax the hell out of me and tell me that it's enough because they give me benefits. But it's crazy to me because why is this logic that you take from the poor? You take from the poor to fund things like police officers who are out here killing people who look like me. Nothing helps me. Nothing helps me. I don't even have free health care. Where's my money going? And then I have to wait till the end of the year to celebrate getting my money back, and it ain't even all of it. Right? So it doesn't make any sense to me. They've created this system to make us happy for those type of things. Like, oh, you know, I worked all that time. I slaved. And I know y'all don't like when I say that, but let me tell you something. My job literally says it's okay to be a robot. I compare that to being... So I slaved for all of this, all these hours for y'all to take... God knows how much of my check. Send me home with 65% because before... And then the weird thing is to get an apartment... and or a place to stay, they got to look at it before taxes. You ain't making that money for real. So they like, listen, it's before taxes. Okay, you can definitely stay here because it looks like you're making the money. And I'm looking at them like, yeah, sure. I'm not making the money. You know I'm not making the money. But on paper, it looks like I'm making the money. So it makes it look like this company is paying me enough for me to sustain a living. And it doesn't. But since it looks good on paper, let's just go with it. It's a stupid system. It literally wants to just drag the poor, continue to push us down. Nothing trickles down to us, no matter how much they want to cry about it and say this works. Nothing, it has never been proven to work at all. And so, yes, Biden may be pushing for this 28%. At least it's something, because everybody else, they literally will cry over the nothing. They cry over stuff. They like to make excuses to continue to abuse people who are less than, the poor and the working class poor. So it's like, we ain't got nothing. Look, we ain't got nothing.
Did you see the video I sent you yesterday?
No, I didn't see it.
The video of the sister who was like, "You excited about that 1,400?" Hell yeah, I'm excited about that 1,400, and I'm gonna eat some crab legs too.
And I felt that with everything in my shanana. I felt that with everything. So this is, I'm with her on that, because we, the poor working class people, it's not that we never had 1,400. When we have 1,400, you know where it goes to bills and things like that. And
to the overdraft.
It's been a rough year, and we still are in debt because you guys had yet to give us our money when need be. A lot of people have no homes, no food. Kids is at home because they're scared to take them to school. Now they got to extra feed these kids. You know, these kids is expensive. You know, things like that. So we got car notes. We got cars that have been repoed. We got bills, honey. But one thing I'm going to do with this government money is go get some crab legs. I deserve that. I deserve that.
Say that, sister.
Sha-na-na. For real.
Don't
let these people shame you because you ain't starting a corporation with your $1,400.
LLC Twitter.
LLC Twitter. Okay. Hey, we just a heads up. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're trying to connect with Council Member Kshama Sawant, and it was something on my part. It was my bad, but she will be joining us immediately after this break. James, give us some classy music. You put some twerking music on, you know we're gonna act a fool.
Please. Dad, you been. All right, y'all. We hope y'all are enjoying the show. So I had to put on some good music for y'all this morning, y'all. But y'all know anything we play is always good here on Like It or Not, y'all. So here we go. Let's get it. Y'all hit that like button, y'all. Share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, so you know when Like It or Not is going down. And also make sure that you go to patreon.com/the BPD show. Patreon.com/the BPD show to become a patron, get exclusive ad-free content, and also get access to the patron parties that goes down with your boy. So make sure that y'all join, all right, y'all? Daniel, I appreciate that. Thank you, son. I got love. I got love.
soon. Some people try to get by. If you don't have
Nick, you know I have no sense, Nick.
to make it all worthwhile. 'Cause what I've got surely makes the world go round. 'Cause I got something real. 'Cause I got love. I got love, love. I got love. I got
I'm afraid, dog. I'm so afraid. At all. Y'all, welcome back to the screen. Benjamin Dixon, who's going to push Rebecca off her microphone. Don't do my sister like that, man.
I try to come back professionally, but I can't take these people nowhere with me. Welcome to Like It or Not. Welcome back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I am excited to be joined by Seattle Council member Kshama Sawant. She has been a member of the Seattle City Council since 2016, a member of the Socialist Alternative and Democratic Socialists of America. Councilmember Sawant was the first socialist to win an election in Seattle since 1916. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is ours. I want to begin with the attacks that are occurring on you in Seattle, specifically to recall you. And to me and everyone who's looking, it looks like it's a direct attack based on your efforts fighting for working people for the $15 an hour. Could you just kind of help us understand the nature of this recall effort?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it all connects back to how, as you mentioned, Ben, we won our first election in 2013, in the fall of 2013. And since then, we have won 2 re-elections. We won the historic $15 an hour minimum wage. We made Seattle the first major city to win the $15 minimum wage. Then just last summer, during the thick of the Black Lives Matter street protests, we won the historic Amazon tax, which is a tax to fund affordable housing and Green New Deal projects and Green New Deal jobs by taxing the largest corporations in Seattle, like Amazon, but not limited to Amazon. And then we have won a whole fleet of renters' rights victories that were thought of as impossible. And truly, having one socialist city council office that is truly rooted in the movement and is used, this office is being used by me and by others who work with me as an organ for working class struggle. It has won victories, not only that were thought of as impossible, but it has completely transformed Seattle's political landscape. We have forced the Democratic Party establishment that controls the city to reckon with working class politics. So it's no surprise that in the 7.5 years that we've been on the city council, they have thrown every possible attack against us. There's been lawsuit after lawsuit and numerous so-called ethics complaints, and I've lost count of those complaints and lawsuits. There were even some ethics complaints against us because we used the City Hall printer and copier to print leaflets and posters to build our movement, which we do proudly. We don't apologize for it. But the point is that they have tried all kinds of attacks. The Amazon spent more than $1 million to try and defeat our re-election in 2019. None of that worked. So now they have this recall campaign against us. The recall campaign has 4 charges. All of them are completely false charges. They claim that we broke the law, that I broke the law, but we didn't break the law. In reality, it is a retaliation against working people actually feeling empowered, not just to fight back, but having the temerity to win victories that go in the face of corporate domination. And so, it's no surprise that there's this attack against us. It is also part of the attack against the nationwide Black Lives Matter movement, because 2 of the 4 charges against me are because of my involvement in the Black Lives Matter movement here. And
it's just so much there for us to unpack. But what stood out to me is the fact that Amazon itself literally spent $1 million to try to defeat you. And when that didn't work, now you're fighting against all of these headwinds from people who are, for lack of a better phrase, nitpicking every little thing that you do in order to justify getting rid of you. And it's not, in most cases, when we do these analysis, especially in like mainstream media or even sometimes the independent media, we talk about this being an assault from conservatives. But as I'm listening to you, this is not, you're not just getting attacked from the right, you're getting attacked from people who like to claim to be the party of working people. You're getting attacked by some Democrats. Could you unpack that a little for me?
That's a very important point, Ben. And a lot of what's happening here also connects to what's happening in Washington, D.C. and why the $15 an hour minimum wage didn't really see the light of day and hasn't seen the light of day so far, and what would it take to see to actually come to fruition. I mean, if you look at the recall campaign donors, I mean, many of them are right-wing people, but if you look at the billionaires who are donating to this campaign, many of them have donated both to Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And Seattle as a city is controlled, as I said, by the Democratic Party establishment. For as long as I have known, the mayor has been a Democrat and all of the council members are Democrats, except when I got first got elected, then we had one socialist, one working class representative in City Hall. And so not only do we see the Democratic establishment really behind this recall campaign as well, but when we ran for re-election in 2019, for example, in the primary election, two of the Latina progressive Democrats on the city council ran a candidate against me saying that they agreed with the policies that I was pushing for. They just did not like me, and they don't think that I have good relationships. This is the kind of rhetoric that we see whenever working people will start fighting back. And so we have to refuse to accept that, and we have to hold politicians accountable. And of course, there are differences, clear differences between the Republican Party and especially the reactionary elements like Trump. And it was an important repudiation of Trump's reactionary agenda that the majority of working people voted him out. But at the same time, we can see, for example, when there were millions of people demanding $15 an hour, it was the Democrats in the White House, the Democrats in Congress that were an obstacle to it. And so I think if you look at how we won $15 an hour in Seattle, for example, we won $15 an hour precisely because we didn't use that kind of relationship insider deal strategy. We turned outwards. We used my office to build the 15 Now movement, which then went nationwide actually and won $15 victories in other cities like Minneapolis as well. But what we did was we used our office to build a fighting strategy, empowering ordinary people and workers. And I'll just mention what 15 Now in my office with our socialist fighting strategy, what we overcame was not only the opposition of big business and the overtly corporate Democrats, we also overcame the cautious instincts of the well-meaning progressive Democrats and the well-meaning labor leaders who don't want to go into conflict with big business.
I think that's so critical. Like the timidness and the reluctance of people who actually agree with us on policy, not being willing to fight head on in these fights. But if they take a look at what's happening to you, I guess that's why they're afraid, because they know that as soon as they challenge this corporate structure that has us stranglehold across the country, that all of those forces come down to bear. I want to ask you about the fight for labor across the country too, and I want to kind of juxtapose it to the lie that 15 an hour was going to hurt Seattle, and I know that now we have enough evidence to suggest otherwise, but then also with the fight across the country, the standard talking point is that if we raise the minimum wage to 15 an hour, then the price of our hamburger is going to go up and it's going to cause inflation across the country. Could you talk about the actual data that has come out of Seattle since you all won 15 an hour?
Well, absolutely. The data shows without any doubt that $15 an hour has not had any detrimental impact on the on the Seattle economy. What has happened now, of course, is the COVID pandemic and the recession that is rooted in the crisis of the capitalist system itself. So it's not like $15 an hour has caused any damage. And to go to your earlier discussion, taxes on the rich has never destroyed the economy. What is destroying people's lives, the lives of the majority under capitalism, is capitalism itself, because capitalism as a system, is not geared. I mean, it's not meant. The goal of capitalism is not to improve living standards for everybody, to employ the technology and the creativity to make sure everybody has what they need. The goal of capitalism is to maximize profits for the wealthy by exploiting workers. And that means they also use racism and sexism, those kinds of specific oppressions, also to make sure that they keep the working class in a state of repression as a whole. And so $15 an hour and the Amazon tax, they represent reforms under capitalism that are wrested out of the hands of big business and the Democratic and Republican establishments, despite their unwillingness to concede. And what we see from the data, not only now after $15 an hour has taken effect in Seattle, but even before that, it was clear, very clear, that what the economic evidence showed was that there was not going to have any detrimental impact. There was not going to be any business that was going to close, and there was not going to be any economic apocalypse. Everything was claimed. None of those claims had any basis in reality to begin with, but also now we have the proof that it doesn't work. I'll tell you one thing, though, that even if there was any truth, that this economy, this model of economy, capitalism, was so fragile that it could not withstand ordinary people, the workers who create the profits for the billionaires, that they could have even a modicum of living standards. $15 an hour is far from what is needed actually to meet people's daily requirements. But if the system is so fragile that it cannot withstand that, then it's an argument against the system itself. It's not an argument against $15 an hour. And that's why I'm a socialist, because I don't believe as hard as it will be to win reforms, even like $15 an hour, let alone Medicare for all, that's not going to be enough. We need a real overhaul of the society itself, because it's not working for most of us.
Whew. My God. Wow. Thank you so much for everything that you're saying. I have more questions, but I'm just absorbing everything that you're saying, and the passion with which you speak and the conviction with which you speak is so refreshing to hear, especially from somebody who's been in power and because of what you fight for, you have become a target. Let's go to Bessemer, Alabama, where there's a fight for unions to unionize Amazon, and the amount of corporate power that is brought down to bear against these unionizing efforts, to me, is a joke. It's a joke in terms of our democracy, because they're allowed to do these things in the first place. But show us how it's connected, right? The fight for 15 across the country versus the fight to unionize there in Bessemer, Alabama.
Absolutely. I mean, the union struggle in Bessemer, Alabama is absolutely crucial right now. In fact, it is important to note that if there is a victory for the union there, for the workers there, it will be nothing short of a game changer for the labor movement and for worker struggles as a whole in the United States, given this unprecedented moment of crisis that we are in. And you can see the lengths to which the Amazon Corporation, the executives, the billionaires, not just Jeff Bezos, but the new CEO and everyone else that controls that corporation, the lengths that they are going to try and defeat this union struggle, the lies that the workers are relentlessly confronted with. The workers are telling us they cannot even walk from their workstation to the bathroom without seeing a number of anti-union messages pasted on the walls. The corporation is spending $10,000 a day, or maybe upwards of that, with these anti-union consultants. So you can see that it is similar. The attacks against unionizing efforts are similar to when the labor movement was first beginning over 100 years ago, when the capitalist class employed very, very brutal measures to try and prevent the labor movement. The labor movement happened in any way. And I think the courage and the political clarity that it will take to really build these kinds of union struggles is similar to the kind of clarity we have needed to withstand attacks from corporations here in Seattle as well. So the point is that the way in which we have refused to become part of the establishment and use our office as a way to build working class struggles, like turning outwards and not relying on the goodwill of the Democrats on the council, that is the kind of political courage that we will need on the part of labor leaders as well. In fact, a few years ago, the teachers in West Virginia, they won a historic victory precisely because they had the courage and the understanding that they should reject the deal that was made by the higher up union leaders, the state level union leaders with the Republican legislature. The rank and file union leaders there, they rejected that deal. They continued their strike action, and that's how they won the historic victory. I mean, this is Joe Manchin's state, right? So it shows you the potential that we can, of what we can win, and the potential of turning around this nation through just a historic labor movement around the country. But that is not going to happen unless we have leaders who understand that there is no way of making those gains possible without yourselves becoming targets of the corporate establishment and the ruling class, because they are not on your side. The interests of the capitalist class that these politicians represent and that the Democratic Party unfortunately represents are never going to be aligned with the interests of the working class. These are diametrically opposed to one another. And so you cannot rely, to fight for the working class, you cannot rely on the party that represents the opposite class, the ruling class, the capitalist class. And the potential for uniting Black, white, Latino, immigrant workers is tremendous, but we need that kind of fighting struggle.
And absolutely, I mean, just hearing your voice on this issue just is the type of fire that's necessary to push us in that direction. I just want to ask you one last question. One of the number one things that I get pushback on is when I identify as a Black socialist, as a socialist in general, for the very reasons that you've outlined here. But then I listen to what's happening to you on the Seattle Council, City Council, and it's like, to me, that fight represents what we should be fighting in this country. And this is what I mean. There are Democrats on that council who have made themselves an enemy of the people in attacking you. And then there you are representing the left, representing working people. To me, that's the spectrum that we need to be fighting on. But instead, not only are we fighting corporate Democrats, we're fighting fascistic Republicans. We have this insanely wide range in the discourse here in this country. And for so long, it never included people like voices like yours, because we were relegated to the dregs of society. We were McCarthyism chased us away. They try to vilify anyone who identified with anything other than this pure capitalistic system. My question to you is why do you feel it's necessary to identify as a socialist for people who are still afraid to identify that way when none of us got capital? Like, why is somebody calling themselves a capitalist when they don't have any capital? Could you speak to that?
I think that's very important, and it's interesting. The kind of period that we're in is so remarkably different from the period that many of our parents' generations were in, the Cold War era, where there was all this vilification of the ideas of socialism, and a lot of it was demonized. I think, obviously, we have a lot of work to do. As you were saying, Ben, I totally agree with you. We have a lot of work in clarifying what socialism means, and I want to do that in a second. But I think it's also important to recognize that the younger generations, millions of young people actually haven't grown up under the shadow of the Cold War. What they are, they may not understand what socialism is. Some of them may even have some ideas of hostility towards it. But predominantly what I see around us in the nation is a lot of curiosity about socialism, increased support for socialist ideas. But what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is that tens of millions of Americans are crystal clear what we have right now, that's not working for us, So we want a different kind of society. And so, in fact, the Black Lives Matter street protest, which ended up becoming the largest street protest movement ever in U.S. history, with 26 million people out on the streets in a multiracial working class solidarity against racism and police violence. I mean, that was not only an expression against oppression. It captured the overall anger that people are feeling about the way the system works. In the middle of the pandemic, you are seeing American billionaires becoming over $1 trillion richer, and not one single police officer who has murdered a black or brown person has faced justice. So that people are understanding that this lopsided system does not work for us. We need something different, and it's no coincidence that my organization, Socialist Alternative, and especially Democratic Socialists of America, have grown in leaps and bounds because so many people are searching for answers. And what I mean by socialism, of course, is a society that is able to harness the tremendous productivity, technological achievements, natural resources, and wealth of our society to guarantee a high standard of living for all living beings, all human beings, in an environmentally sustainable way. That's what socialism means. But it's just an abstract idea unless we actually fight for it. And the starting point of it has to be taking the commanding heights of the economy, the largest corporations like Amazon, the energy corporations in Texas that cause such suffering to 4 million people, the fossil fuel companies. We need to take these companies into democratic public ownership by workers so that we can end the use of fossil fuels. We can actually usher in a real climate justice era, which we need to do because the ecological clock is ticking. But none of this is possible unless the working class, unless ordinary people, we get organized ourselves and unite against racism, against sexual violence, against the exploitation of workers. We need a real root and branch revival of the labor movement where we have genuine democracy inside the unions and we don't have business union leaders making deals with big business bosses. We need workers to fight for our own needs.
Whew. Seattle Council member Kshama Sawant, thank you so much for your fight and everything that you're doing. How can people support you during this recall effort to remove you? Where should they go?
Thank you so much for asking that, because the left nationally and everybody who considers themselves progressive, who wants to defeat the conservative forces, who wants to defeat the billionaire class, has a stake in this fight and has a stake in defeating this recall. So please go to kshamasolidarity.org, which is Kshama, my first name, KSHAMA, solidarity, all one word, .org. It doesn't matter where you live in the United States. We need your help, first of all, starting with working class donations, because obviously our campaign is not funded by billionaires. The campaign against us is funded by the billionaire class. Yes. So we depend on working class donations. We depend on working class solidarity. And we know that this is what's at stake. If we are able to defeat this recall, then it will send a tremendous surge of confidence for working people everywhere that we can defeat Amazon, we can defeat the establishment. But if we don't defeat them, if the recall wins against us, then I have no doubt that they will use that as a template to go after other socialists, other labor activists, even media people who are actually on the left. So we have to remember that we are in this together, because those attacks are not against an individual. Those attacks are against the movement and the mood of revolt that is developing in this nation.
Seattle Council member Kshama Sawant, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is ours. Wow. Everybody in the chat room, whatever chat rooms you're, matter of fact, I not only want you to applaud in the chat room, I actually want you to just, Rebecca, James, y'all need to give that sister a hand, because my God, from Zion, that was powerful.
The passion.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is what we need in these spaces and it's funny, she was saying how the struggles and things like that they didn't like her. And I believe because she's a minority, and she's a brown person, that definitely added the fuel to the fire. But the fuel that she has and the fire
they don't want
that
the
she
smoke.
Ignites, they don't want
They don't want that smoke.
And she had something for everything. She's one of those people that, listen, I've been fighting this fight so long and I'm going to keep fighting this fight, that anything that you throw at me, I got something for that. She challenges everybody. And I like that. I heard that in her voice. So she ain't the one to play with.
Nah, they don't want that smoke, James. They don't.
None of this smoke.
Because it's just the truth. And this is the thing I always say to folks is like, you know, people are so afraid of you saying the word socialism, right? But what I started doing is like, well, how much capital do you got? Right? Anybody who's trying to fearmonger around the word, socialism, how much capital do you have? How much money do you have in the bank right now that creates its own money? I don't care about what's in your savings, because in your savings account, you ain't getting but 1% interest, if that. I'm saying how many of you are out there able to live off of your cash? If you can't sit at home and watch your money make money so that you don't have to go out and give them, I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care. There was an episode of The Cosby Show that I think illustrated this the best, because a lot of people are like, oh, the Cosbys, they weren't realistic in terms of black families back then. No, they weren't. But there was a line in there that spoke the truth. Claire Huxtable was like, the episode where the younger daughter had got beat up at school or got in a fight at school because they called her a rich kid. And Claire Huxtable was like, we're rich, but we're not wealthy. And she said, because we actually have to work for our money. Wealthy people don't have to work for their money. Their money makes money. So the real question is all people running around here, they're rich doctors, they're rich lawyers. If they stop working, they out of money. So for me, the question is if you got a problem with people identifying as a socialist, how much money are you making off of your money? Can you live off of it? Can you lay in your bed every single day and not have to get up, and then you still make more money than everybody else? Then you're not a capitalist, you big dummies. You're not a capitalist. You are labor. You are being taken advantage of by this system. So, that's all. I mean, we could go. She said it best. David, make sure you clip that one first and foremost so we could get that one out immediately, because she was speaking to my heart, man. She's speaking to everybody's heart.
She spoke to my Shanana once again. This whole episode was speaking right up, something shot up in my spirit. But
everything's better when you're back, Rebecca. This week was good, but it's like,
thank you. See, there goes the compliment that was missed. There it is right there. Because let me tell y'all before we get out of here. This man, so I even Bubba, you too. I wrote in the group and I'm like, hey guys, trying to kiki, honey, they must have got their stimulus checks. They was like, who is that? First of all, it's like Benjamin Dixon.
Sorry for that woman.
Jake, baby. It was like, who? But anywho, I have two things to clarify. I wanted to clarify the initial story that we were talking about before we get out of here, and that was with the murderer, the Atlanta murderer. And he started in Atlanta and came over. He started in Woodstock, and went over to Atlanta. So
he went on a whole
when
spree.
I saw those police cars, he had just done the murder and then went over to Atlanta. So I wanted to clarify that. And y'all, let me tell you something. I'm on here. This is my first day back this week. We are out of time, but tomorrow morning we're talking Haiti. Definitely talking Haiti, because there's a lot going on in Haiti right now. And I want to clarify some things, and I want to speak to my people, speak for my people, and offer solidarity, because here, like it or not just because Rebecca Azor is Haitian, but because it's a serious issue and there is solidarity with Haiti. So hashtag free Haiti. Until we say it backwards, Haiti is free. So with that being said, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, because it's going to be another amazing show, 8:30 in the morning. With the issues or not, we're going to make it pop like we always do.
Like it or not.
Like it or not.
Like you about to rhyme there. Hey, you rhyme right on time.
I'll see you guys when I see you. I love you, mean it. If you guys have any last words, let the people know.
Y'all know where to find me. In the A.
Y'all know where to find me. In the A.
That's all I got. I'm still riding off of Kshama Sawant, and
that was good.
I'm gonna learn how to pronounce people's names going forward before I bring them on the show. So I apologize. That K is silent. Real G's moving silent like lasagna. Anyway, that's all I got. James, it's your world, bro.
Stand y'all.
Love y'all, mean
right. Love y'all. Go play y'all one song. Y'all know what
I was saying a hard K on that name.
And the K was silent, and
the K was silent, and I'm looking like a big dummy. Love y'all, need it.
Bye, guys.
Look at hate y'all, man. See y'all in the morning.
But something went wrong. The signals got crossed.
All right, family, y'all get that one song today because you know what today is. It's Wednesday. Conference call day. Yay, me. Anyway, y'all, we're going to get this thing jumping. Play the one song for y'all. Then we're going to cut out of here for today.
Pick the pace up. We should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus. Don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Will you take me on a trip? Always up and down and back and forth in merry-go.
And make sure y'all that y'all join the Patreon, patreon.com/the BPD show, patreon.com/the BPD show, y'all.
Something went wrong, the signals got crossed, and now we're going different directions. Let's go where we were, when no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there, don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up, we should take it slow.
Love you too, mama.
Baby, keep your
shout out Pixie Moon, we appreciate you.
If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up
Magdalene Moon, I appreciate that.
Baby, don't you,
cause I
baby, don't
dread
you,
getting on this
baby,
phone.
Don't you switch up the vibe. If you love me just like you do.
Miss Williams, you better be going to brunch and you better be bringing me some over here.
If you
anyway, y'all, that is going to do it for your boy James Bubba Williams, better known as DJ Exclusive, y'all. Gotta run, gotta get ready for these calls. Get on my nerves. Anyway, y'all, we hope you enjoyed the show today. Shout out to all our guests that we had on. And definitely, y'all, we will see y'all first thing in the morning. It's like it or not. Your boy DJ Exclusive is out. Peace. Love you to be there.